want people to look into assistance programs. This is a big transaction. Yep. This is one of those big life decisions. There's so many things in my life that I look back on and I go, if somebody would just tell me so I didn't have to figure this out. Like when I went to college, I didn't know how to apply for scholarships. I didn't know how to do that. And then I think about how true that is probably for the typical American. It's the same thing with you buying your first house. If you're your first time home buyer, realize that is something that the government and a lot of states treat as like a noble cause. Is they want people to be able to buy into their first home, so they try to incentivize these processes. So we've tried to figure out, hey, for all of our financial mutants out there, how can we help you on this big transaction kind of get a shortcut? And the good news is there's actually a resource. First-time home buyers, you can go out there. Nerd Wallet has created a great website for you can go do a portal and just look by state what you qualify for that first-time home purchase.
And sometimes it may be you get favorable lending through the state in which you live, or it might just be they offer classes around home affordability or things you need to know if you're a first-time home buyer. There's a reason that these programs are there, so make sure you take advantage of them. All it takes is a quick little Google research to figure out what's available in your state to determine if there's something unique. Because if you qualify, it may make sense to look at something like a VA loan, or perhaps it makes sense to look at an FHA loan. And these programs that are in place for specific people, for specific circumstances, might just be the thing that allows you to actually get on the side of home ownership, that actually allows you to participate in this transaction that you may not have been able to do otherwise.
All right, we've thrown out a lot of tips already through tips 1 through 6, but let's get into another preparation thing, and this is tip number 7. Start saving early. A lot of people will ask us, they say, Brian, Bo, how does home purchases fit into the financial order of operations? And we do build it into it. It's just you got to start the planning as soon as possible because it's going to make it that much easier.
That's right. The earlier you can figure this out, it's just like most other financial goals. If you can figure it out early on, the steps required, the steps necessary become much, much easier. The longer you wait, the more arduous, the more difficult it is. So figuring it out early is going to make the whole process a lot smoother, a lot more seamless. And like you said, Brian, it does fit into the financial order of operations, but it's not the broad-based step 1 through 9. It's your specific food based on your specific goals, based on your unique circumstances. For some people, home ownership might be very, very early on in their financial order of operations. And for other people, it might not be something that they've already made it all the way through the financial order of operations. We won't be able to answer that question for you. It's a question that you're going to have to answer for yourself, but there are some ways that you can work through figuring out how to do that.
Yeah, anybody who's been on our channel, we say for big life decisions, put on your 3D glasses. And what does a 3D plan entail? It means that I want you to look at every big decision in 3 different ways. Let's first talk about it in the dream way. The dream way is, hey, you are crushing it in your financial life. You're saving and investing 25%, and you get to that level and you say, okay, now I can start just stacking money in the background for a home. That's great. That's the dream. That's not the way life typically happens, because with a down-to-earth plan is somebody who backs into and they say, hey, look, a home is so valuable. I've got a growing family. I want to set roots in this community. It's not getting easier to get a home, so I need to get on this train as fast as possible. I might have to cut down my saving and investing. Instead of doing the 25% that I'd prefer, cut it back temporarily to 10 to 15%, because that is what it's going to take to get in this house. We are okay with you having that down-to-earth plan. And then, of course, the do-do plan is you have to move ASAP, turn off all of your investments, because the financial order of operations is one of those things where you're going to have to use some resources, do other things to make this happen. We're okay with that. We're just saying do the preparation on the front end so you're not caught where that do-do plan actually disrupts and challenges your financial life so you never get out of the gates.
But we want to make sure that the do-do plan does not turn into the disaster plan.
That's right.
That's why, while we say it does depend on your specific foo, it does fall after step 4. It does fall after a fully funded emergency fund. Because what we don't want to see happen is you don't have that emergency fund built up. You go acquire this house and all of a sudden you have no liquidity. And then something happens, that unknown happens, that Tuesday happens, that job change happens, that whatever that thing may be, liquidity is your friend. So we do not encourage anyone to move into home ownership if you've not made it past step 4 of the financial order of operation.
Okay, so I think probably if you're watching this, you're catching on because we said start saving early, because very realistically, this is going to be a multi-year process to save up for this down payment, because it's going to basically be an extension to your step 4 emergency reserves.
right.
You're going to need to start squirreling away in the background. Bo, we have the question all the time when people say, does that mean it just has to stay only in cash, or is this money that needs to be invested? What do we tell people on where they need to put this money?
Yeah, normally, as we answer most financial questions, the answer is it depends. It depends a little bit on your timeline. If you're someone who's thinking about buying a house and it's going to happen inside the next 5 years, we believe that you ought to be just saving for that in cash. We want you to have liquidity available, but maybe you have something to where you don't know the exact timeline. Maybe you're starting so early that you buying a house is 7, 8, maybe 10 years in the future. If that's the case, it's okay, not necessarily to build it in cash, but maybe you want a dollar cost average and an after-tax account through some sort of like low-cost index fund or some close-dated target retirement fund. That's all right. But you have to determine, what is my timeline? What's the highest probability of when I'm going to make this acquisition? And then depending on the answer to that question, it will dictate which of those two options you go with. Pure cash, pure liquidity, or do I try to invest some of these dollars to grow for the future?
All that is so important to kind of know where the timeline, how to bring it together so that you can be as effective as possible with the saving and doing it often and making it happen.